You're listening to Food Rebels, and welcome. This is the podcast that brings you brands, chefs, and live on-air tastings. A show that's dedicated to the more rebellious side of the food world, where we celebrate the people who have challenged the status quo. We'll be giving you a peek behind the curtains and inside the minds of the people who are shaking up our food industry. You know me, I'm the show host, AJ Sharp, taste expert, food writer, great taste food judge, and of course, business owner. I love meeting new people and tasting new foods. So, sit back as we hear more stories from people in food who dare to be different. Welcome to Food Rebels, and we have got an old favourite back on the show, the lovely Georgie Parsons. Welcome back, Georgie.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
So, Georgie, you will remember, I'm sure, used to be our producer. She did lots of shows with me when we had the live in-person show, and is very organised, very foodie. And what are we going to talk about today, Georgie?
We did go to South Africa for 2 weeks where we ate the most incredible food. Have you been?
I've not been, no. Tell me about it.
Well, it's quite like, I generally can't, I don't know how to explain it, but they just have the best food, and it is so fresh, so seasonal, and it's not expensive. Once you get to South Africa, you can eat like an absolute king for really not much at all, because the rand to the pound at the moment is so good. And you can we went to, actually for one of our presents for our 40th, a friend of ours gave us a voucher to La Colombe, which is one of the most spectacular restaurants I kind of have ever really been to. And we went before 10 years ago when we were in South Africa last time. And it's just a feast for your eyes, for your senses, I love the theatre of it all. It's not just all about the food, but, one of the courses was these glazed apples. They look like apples. And we had a red one and a green one. And they were like shiny, and they generally looked like an apple. And then you cut into it and it was a pate. And it was, you're just... Yeah, you're trying with an apple.
Like Heston. That's a Heston thing. Was that the mandarin? No. They don't have a mandarin there. I don't know.
No. This was the La Colombe.
La Colombe.
And then the other ones, they have this can of tuna, a tuna can, and you open it up like you would a can of tuna, and inside is the beautiful plated tiny little pieces of tuna with, delicious toppings and stuff. And it's just... The food there is just stunning. And everywhere you eat, even if you're eating in like a, beach cafe it just seems to be that and then the wine, obviously, to go with.
Yeah, South African wine is delicious, yeah.
So we really did kind of jump from place to place to place, just eating like absolute kings, and came back about 4 kilos heavier. But, it is
Yeah,
what it
it's
is.
Totally worth it, though. Full of the joy of beautiful food and beautiful wine. Wow.
Totally worth it. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you about. I was reading the other day about the weight loss drugs and how it's turning people off food.
Yeah.
Have you been reading about that?
Yeah.
It made me really sad and worried that people, I was reading this article about this girl, and she was like, I used to be a massive foodie. I used to kind of plan all my family meals around, and get really excited. But now she's been on, I don't know, Ozempic or whichever one of the other ones. And she was like, no, I have no interest in food. Like, whenever I have to cook for the kids, I feel really, disinterested.
Bored by it. It's having a massive effect on food sales in the UK. It's coming up now in all the marketing reports that come across my desk at Sharp that are nuts. There's so many different things. It's called the Ozempic effect of how it's having an impact on food sales. Weight Watchers obviously went into administration last month because... Basically, anyone who's really dedicated to losing weight is buying these drugs
instead. Yeah.
There's a lot of warnings and worries and, but absolutely fascinating.
Obviously, a lot of our issues are run by massive corporations, people who are trying to force, to have...
Eat more than you need.
Eat more than you need of the wrong food. And it's going to be super interesting seeing what they're going to do to not lose out on their profits, because they're going to be
hit, aren't they? And it's particularly that end of the market, because from what I've understood about your taste buds is that it really, in many ways, it kind of enhances the sweet flavour. So suddenly sweet things taste actually quite revoltingly oversweet, whereas things that maybe weren't that sweet to you before, like, I don't know, maybe some fruit or something like that, suddenly taste really sweet. So your literally your taste buds start to shift. I read a whole article in some online magazine the other day.
Yeah.
About how it's really changing the way that you're then eating and then the way you're interacting with food. And we know it's affecting sales across the whole country.
I'm curious that if people are buying less because they don't need so much food, are they then buying better quality of the food about what they're actually eating?
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah, I wonder
if you can only eat a small amount in a day, you would probably make a more careful choice about what you're going to eat because you know you're going to get full quickly or however it works.
It would devastate me if I lost my love for food. I think that's what would scare me the most, would be that I would lose that. I mean, I can't think of anything better than picking up a new cookbook and having a look through and finding new ideas and all that kind of stuff. I think it would panic me that I would lose that. And it's another corporation making a lot of money, isn't it?
Right. So yeah, maybe Big Food just start doing that. Yeah, exactly.
But you've been doing some great taste tasting recently.
Yes, yeah. I think we're nearly at the end now of the Great Taste judging season. I've been up to London quite a few times as a coordinator for them, which is great fun. It's great fun, but it's also, you work really hard during the day. I'm a coordinator, so I've got the laptop and I'm typing out the kind of feedback from everyone that's tasting all the different products that come to the table. The products come and they are, you blind taste test everything. So you can see it's chocolate and you get maybe a one-line description that says this is Peruvian chocolate. Made with something or another. And you'll get this just one line about it. And then you taste it and you have to decide if it's no award, a 1-star, which means it's simply delicious, 2-star outstanding, 3-star exquisite, like the most perfect thing ever. And you know a 3-star when it comes along because you get a proper tingle. Like there is something that makes you, it either makes everyone get really giggly or really chatty or really quiet. And they all just start kind of mooning at each other with big eyes like, oh, I think this is really good. And it's really good fun. And then we capture the feedback. So it's always great if you've got other judges on your table who are really with the words, who've got loads of adjectives for you and ways to describe things. But often I find if it's something everyone likes, likes enough to give a 1-star or 2 or more, the adjectives just flow because everyone's really excited about it. And they're slightly making their case as to why they think it's worth a bigger score, because you don't get many 2s and you get very few 3s come around. Whereas when it's definitely a 0, that's the hardest because you've got to give some really constructive feedback and you've got to really think about, but why is it not
working,
not worthy of an award, and what needs to be done to make it one. So you really work hard on describing it and helping someone to realise where maybe things are out of whack or oversalted or undersalted, or it could be a number of things.
How much Dubai chocolate did you have coming through?
Not one piece. Not one single piece. No. I mean, other people may have done on other days, but I personally, none came across my plate.
Literally, it seems to have gone crazy, the Dubai
why?
chocolate phrase.
I haven't tried it yet. What is it about Dubai chocolate?
I do like pistachios, and it's the thing is, I think I've had just some not great quality ones, so it wasn't, I was a bit like, oh yeah, this is quite nice, but it seems to be massive, and I've seen all the bakeries taking off and doing, and cookie, do you follow, is it Brookie House on Instagram?
No.
She's an Australian, she makes these cookies, but they're like massive, really like thick and delicious. She's been doing amazingly and doing pop-ups all over the place. I'm waiting for her to come to London and do a pop-up. She's done, I think, Bali, Dubai, Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
And again, she was like, we just can't make enough of these. They sell out within minutes of opening, these Dubai chocolate ones. But yeah, I don't know why. So what themes were there? What was coming through as lots of things coming through?
Fewer soft drinks than past years.
Oh, interesting.
The last couple of years, I've just thought the number of soft drinks was just sort of through the roof, just so many of them. Not nearly so many this year. A few nice ice creams. Some really interesting food from Thailand. I think more world food. We've definitely seen more world food coming in.
Okay.
I mean, it's 14,000 entries and I think something like a third come from around the world. And I reckon this year that will be higher. There just seem to be a lot, little Portuguese custard tarts and really beautiful different sauces from different parts of India, spice rubs, some really unusual. I mean, there was one that we tried that was just called generically Asian dessert, which I thought was wonderfully vague. Asia's a very big place. I'm not quite sure where to place this. Really fascinating, though. Yeah, definitely more world foods that I thought were really very interesting. There was a cherry curd, which always, something like that is just so intensely flavoured that it's absolutely beautiful and it's kind of sweet.
Like
and
a
it's
lemon
sharp,
curd, but cherry.
And it's sweet and it's sharp and it's fruity and it makes your mouth water and it kind of makes your eyes twitch. And
because it's so tangy.
Oh, it's so tangy, but it's so amazing. You kind of finish your mouthful and you're like, oh, I think I can have a bit more actually, just to check.
I'm trying to think of when you would eat a cherry.
Just a spoon.
Oh, by the spoon. Okay.
No, I don't know. I think maybe a piece of toast or something. I don't know. It's incredible though.
I sometimes make lemon curd. With if you're making meringues and you've got leftover yolks, lemon curd's a really good one to make. But
how do you make it not grainy? Because the only time I've made curd, it was grainy and awful. It had like a weird texture.
Too high a heat.
Oh, have I? So it's curdled.
You've got to put it on a really low heat and keep whisking.
And not go and deal with the children whilst doing it. No, okay.
No, exactly.
Rats.
I've just made 10 tons of jam at the moment because I get these really big notions in my mind where the kids were doing a triathlon, they had to raise money, so I thought, well, I'll make a whole load of jam and then they have to go and sell the jam.
Nice.
Well, nice, apart from it meant I did everything and they did pretty much nothing.
Got loads of credit for making loads of money for charity, I imagine.
Exactly. And then I had to go and, flog this. We drove around the village with our I felt like a travelling salesman being like, would you like some jam that's coming out of the back of my car? But as I was up until midnight one night making jam, I was like, my life choice, why do I do this to myself?
Why do you do this to yourself?
I don't know.
It's like mass overachieving here.
I don't know why.
Chill out and half-arse it like the rest of us.
And the thing is, I don't know why. And then it was the same like last year we did it, and then I came up with this idea of washing everyone's cars. But obviously it meant that I washed pretty much everyone's cars.
Sure.
And the enthusiasm from the kids literally, went in and out so quickly. But anyway, I made all this jam. One of the jams I made, which I haven't made before, is blueberry.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, which was really nice, but it's actually really sweet. I think because the blueberries themselves were really sweet, and then obviously you add a ton of sugar. So next time I'm going to massively up the pectin and reduce the sugar to try and make it less sweet. I think because I tried it on toast and I was like, oh, this is really sweet. But I know I'm quite adverse to sugar, but I think actually on pancakes and stuff it would be quite nice with it.
Yeah.
With the bacon to kind of counterbalance the sweetness, but on its own.
Where did you get blueberries in?
Well, I went to this really out there place called Sainsbury's, and then I went round to their freezer section, and in there are bags of blueberries.
Oh, okay, amazing.
And raspberries as well. I make my raspberry jam from frozen raspberries as well.
Oh, so they're probably frozen at exactly the point that they're really ripe as well. So probably, again, that's why they're sweet.
Super sweet. But yeah, I'm not sure whether I'd make the blueberry jam again. But
yeah, we did taste a blueberry jam actually at Great Taste.
Did you?
Yeah, it was
really
quite unusual. It was really sweet, and weirdly, it did taste of blueberries, but it also tasted of all these other different black fruits, which I thought was fascinating because it didn't have any in. It only had blueberries in, but it had a real kind of blackcurrant thing going on.
Yeah,
fascinating.
And obviously, we're about to go into elderflower season, which I know
obviously I'm not all over that.
I've always on my walk this morning. I'm already spotting my elderflower trees, my elder trees, where I'm going to get them. I'm like,
amazing. So you're stocking up on citric acid and getting yourself on all the government lists?
So I bought citric acid off Amazon.
Yeah.
What I didn't realise is that I bought a 3-kilo bag.
Yeah, you're definitely on the government list then.
Like a teaspoon. You need like a teaspoon to make.
Because isn't it like something that goes into bomb making or something? I don't know. Yeah. Citric acid is like one of the component parts of some sort of weaponry. I think some kind of bomb.
I mean, I paid extra for food grade citric acid, so I think maybe I'm out.
Fine, you're probably fine. Just
okay.
They'll look you up and be like, no, she's really going to make that much elderflower. Exactly. She's going into like full production.
Exactly. Elderflower cordial.
It's this week's hyper focus. She's going to be better at it than anyone, but next week she won't be bothered.
No, exactly. And then it goes back into the cupboard for next year, and then I get it out. My next teaspoonful.
Brilliant.
I'm hoping it doesn't go off. I haven't checked that actually, but
citric acid. No, it gets added to all sorts of different things. Basically, just vitamin C, isn't it? It gets added to all sorts of things to preserve them, and it's a preservative.
It is. Yeah. So that's on my list. What are you on your list for foraging and making?
Well, I have planted. I'm all about gardening at the moment, so I've planted loads of different fruit trees in the garden. I've done 2 apples. We've got a nectarine, which is doing very well. I'm very pleased with that. We've got loganberries, blueberries. Yep. We are in sunny Kent, don't forget. It's basically Spain. Sunny, basically. Yeah, blueberries, loganberries, gooseberries, loads of raspberry canes. My raspberry canes have gone nuts. I need to somehow just contain them because they're a little bit overexcited. And my strawberries have gone nuts. And my garden grows naturally wild strawberries. If I don't pull them out, they're literally just popping up in my lawn. They're everywhere. But I need to make a big fruit cage because last year I had all these bushes, which have done really well. But I didn't really get to eat more than about 3 off each because
Oh, no.
And I now have a lot of bird friends who live in our garden. So that's great.
They've just spotted. They were like, this is the place to be.
It's like Waitrose for the bird world. Oh my God, have you been down the fruit market at AJ's? Yeah.
I saw also that you made a pond out of a...
I have made a pond.
Just a tub, not a tub.
Yeah, I just got a tub.
Pot.
A pot. Exactly, a pot.
What, and then covered up the hole?
Covered up the hole with a load of Gorilla Glue and have filled it with water. And I'd ordered some lotus seeds online, which are, the latest thing, aren't they? And they've all popped up with these lovely little lily pads, and apparently some flowers are going to come. I need to get some sand actually while I'm down here near the beach. Oh no, you're not allowed to do that. I wouldn't do that.
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
Definitely not going to do that. But it needs some sort of sand, which I will buy from an appropriate shop, to root the lotus seed into the base or something, so that then it's happier.
Did you just drop the lotus seeds
in the water? Yeah, essentially. You kind of file them off, although, for me, that meant I got a hammer and just gave them a whack. And then they just start sprouting out of these really hard, almost nut-like seeds.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm going to give that a go. Are you expecting, I don't know,
great things?
Fox?
Yeah. I don't know. I just saw a lady on Instagram talking about her little pond, and she lives in London. She's got a little tiny garden, and our garden's not massive. We're right in the middle of a village. And she was just like, this pond has brought me so much joy. I think hers was actually, she'd got like a B&M box and dug it into the ground, and she put in, some different weeds and different rocks and different things, and within hardly any time at all, so it seems, on the video, which, she'd got frogs and she'd got all this, just so much wildlife in this little tiny pond, and how good it is for all these different creatures, and, especially as we get into the kind of drought season and the hot season, that there's so many different creatures that need somewhere like that to go and drink. And in my already bee and butterfly friendly garden, which is full of flowers now, it's amazing. Everything's in bloom. So happy.
We have had the most amazing weather, haven't we?
I know, so good.
I heard that we've had more...
It might scare it off.
The same amount of sunshine in May than we did the whole of 2024.
I believe that. 2024 was a miserable year.
Miserable year. I totally agree. But I don't feel like I've really utilised it enough. I feel like I need to just go out and sit in it.
Yes. Do that
before it
every
goes.
time you can, even just for 5 minutes. Just go and sit in it with your coffee and just enjoy it, so that you're not allowed to then moan and say it's gone. You have to be like, no, I'm in it. This is why we came down to the beach this week, actually. Well, apart from the fact the kids are away on their residentials, and I checked my diary. I've got loads of meetings, but they're all online meetings. There was no London meetings. I was like, oh my goodness, I could do these. I could do these anywhere. And I was a bit inspired by seeing other people who are all, talking about how remote working is amazing. And I thought, I'm going to work from beach.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Have you had any fish and chips? What's your go-to down there?
There's so many restaurants in Broadstairs. It is an absolute foodie heaven. There are so many beautiful restaurants. We went to a new one. Did you?
I think I went to one. Yeah, there was. We went down randomly, like in lockdown, or just in one of the.
Did you?
Yeah, I think we came down there, and then there was
obviously when you were allowed to travel.
Obviously when I was allowed to travel, and there was like a hole in the wall kind of vibe place where you went, and it got amazing.
Was that
seafood.
Stark?
Yeah, maybe.
Stark was the Michelin star place that had, I think, only 8 covers or 6 covers. It was tiny. I never got to go there because they never had any space. They've moved somewhere now. I think they've moved to Deal or somewhere.
Oh no, this was like a fish and chip shop, but it did like other things, like loads of other things as well. Which
Wyatt and Jones.
Yes,
on York Street going down, and and they have a beautiful restaurant, but they also have a hatch where you can.
That's it.
You can. It's like a fish and chip hatch, and you can get these beautiful kind of like cones filled with different fish and
and
beautiful
scampi
deep fried fish.
Yeah, it was delicious. It was that was one of those days where you were like, let's get out of London and do something and explore somewhere.
Yeah, Broadstairs is amazing for that because you've got somewhere for the kids. They can just run around on the beach, and it's so foodie here now. And it's so funny because I grew up here. My grandparents lived here all my life, so we've always visited. And it used to be so awful on the high street. It was just kind of banks and charity shops and empty shops, and now it's just full of like beautiful little microbreweries and restaurants, and it's really foodie. It's really cool.
I do actually remember the kids discovered a slot machine in the
the slot machines. Yeah,
we were like,
it's a favourite of ours. Oh yeah, no, you just have to go for lunch first and have a glass of wine at lunch, and then the slot machines all seem fine after that.
I remember our kids were quite young, and then the tantrums when the money ran out, but they hadn't actually managed to get more money out of the machine, and it was just like, oh my goodness,
why did we do this to ourselves?
Why did we do this?
We have it once a year.
Seaside thing,
it is a seaside thing, and we have it once a year. If the weather's bad and it's pouring with rain and we're down in Broadstairs, then that'll be the day that we go, right, we're going to go for a nice lunch. And then the kids go, and it's like, maybe we're going to go. Maybe this is the one time of the year that we go to the slot machines, and we give them both 10 quid, which is quite a lot of money when you turn it into 2 pence.
2p's. I love it. Do you bring your carver with you?
No, that's frowned upon. Slushies are fine.
Here?
Martin can't cope with it at all. He's literally never done it in his entire life, whereas it was definitely a very infrequent treat of ours when we were small children, but my father used to find it quite fun every now and then.
Yeah, I definitely remember doing it. We used to go once in the south of France, I seem to remember. We used to go, again, they had those pop... do you remember those, I don't know, the fairs that just pop up out of nowhere, and then suddenly you'd suddenly turn up and there'd be one, and we'd go and... Yeah, I mean, it's exciting when a whole load of 2p's fall out.
It is. I mean, it is gateway gambling for children, but I'm here for it.
Talk about gateway gambling and kids. What's your view on kids drinking non-alcoholic beers?
Well, it's gateway, isn't it? It's like encouraging them to get used to the taste of
alcohol.
Yeah. And then meaning that they then drink alcohol later. No, I don't think it's a good idea at all.
The problem was, so the other day we were out for lunch and Reg said, can I have a non-alcoholic beer? That was my 11-year-old son. And I was like, no, obviously. And he was like, why not? And I couldn't come up with a good enough answer about why he wasn't allowed one. And I was like, I don't know why you can't. I just don't feel like it's right that you should have a non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, you're right though, because what's the alternative? Oh, you can have a Coke instead.
Sure.
Well, that's got 39 tablespoons of sugar or
and I know.
50 billion or whatever. Yeah, I know. And it's probably got less sugar, and it's probably, I don't know. It's deeply uncomfortable though. There's just something that says, no, that's not okay.
I know. But like he now drinks decaf coffee as well. So when we go out for a coffee, then he's like, oh, I'll have a decaf. And I'm like, oh God, do you really have to have decaf and not just a glass of water? Like, you know.
I can have a decaf, but you should not.
Exactly. Especially now they're like, oat flat white's like almost £5. I had one the other day.
Wow.
I know. So I was like, oh, but I don't know what I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Should you be allowing your children to have non-alcoholic drinks? I don't know. It feels wrong, but then is it wrong?
I don't know. I'm deeply uncomfortable by this.
I don't know. But then also, would you allow them to have a non-alcoholic spirit? Probably. And a mixer? Because that basically is a mojito. I mean, if you made let them have a non-alcoholic cocktail.
I think the beer is different because most non-alcoholic beers are made with beer and then the alcohol is then removed. And, that's why it always says it's actually a very low alcoholic beer. So there's actually 0.5% or something. Or they have to say that there's 0.5% because there probably is a residual amount of alcohol in there. So I think that makes more sense. The thing with a non-alcoholic spirit is often it's never had alcohol anywhere near it. So something like Botivo, which I love, it's got that lovely kind of zingy, vinegary thing in it that makes it feel warm, and it's got all these other beautiful complex flavours. That, weirdly, I would think is fine for my kid to have with some soda water or whatever. The non-alcoholic beer I'm not so sure.
Yeah, it really stumped me as well, but I genuinely couldn't come up with a good enough answer as to why he couldn't have it. So then he had it, and then I was like, this just still feels wrong.
And I can see your 11-year-old looking at you and being like, come on, think faster. Yeah, you need a better reason.
Yeah, but then
moral dilemma.
It's a moral dilemma. A non-alcoholic wine? I mean, I'm not so sure I'd have non-alcoholic wine around so much. We definitely have non-alcoholic beers around because we drink those ourselves. I don't know, it just feels weird.
It does feel weird, but I don't know why. But I am going to debate it. In fact, I'll probably come off the call and ask ChatGPT like I do all other questions in my life, my mate Chat.
To solve your life dilemmas.
Yeah, right. Believably, we're out of time. It's been so lovely to have you on the show, Georgie. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me back.
It's been very good. I can't wait for the next one.
We've covered a lot of range of issues.
We have. Thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to Food Rebels, which is available on radio stations around the UK and further afield. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Audible. Please remember to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars or follow us. It makes such a difference, not just to our podcast and radio show, but it really helps to support the guests that come on the show with us. We're also on Instagram at food_rebels. So give us a follow, do get in touch. We love hearing from you and let us know what you think. Thanks so much for joining us and make sure you taste the rebellion.